For President-elect Donald Trump, his relationship with the media is complicated at best.
It's very familiar territory, news conferences, because we used to give them on a almost daily basis. I think we probably maybe won the nomination because of news conferences.
He awoke to learn BuzzFeed had published an unverified report full of errors that suggests Moscow has incriminating evidence against him. Team Trump piled on.
The fact that BuzzFeed and CNN made the decision to run with this unsubstantiated claim is a sad and pathetic attempt to get clicks.
You know, I have long been a supporter of a free and independent press, and I always will be. But with freedom comes responsibility.
It's a sign of the relationship to come between the future president and the press. Trump doesn't believe the mainstream media treats him with respect. He thinks they're in the tank for Democrats and don't appreciate the American movement he's tapped into.
Mr. President-elect,
Mr.
President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization.
You are attacking our news organization. Can you give us a chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can you state?
His staff has promised to shake up the White House briefing room. Despite this love-hate relationship, Trump wasn't rattled at his first press conference since winning the election. He says Russia is responsible for the cyber hack of the DNC, but says that's not where all the focus should be, since other countries like China hack the U.S. too. He's appointing a special committee to come up with ways to make America's cyberspace more secure in his first 100 days. Trump also answered how he'll separate himself from his vast business holdings. Dozens of folders hold documents he's signed to turn his companies over to a trust to be managed by his two sons.
And I hope at the end of 8 years I'll come back and I'll say, oh, you did a good job. Otherwise, if they do a bad job, I'll say, you're fired.
While in office, Trump will also donate profits from his international hotels to the U.S. Treasury. The president-elect is also moving forward with one of the greatest responsibilities of his new job, appointing a new justice to the Supreme Court.
It'll be a decision which I very strongly believe in. I think it's one of the reasons I got elected. I think the people of this country did not want to see what was happening with the Supreme Court.
Now he's looking forward to his inauguration and celebrating with the Americans who put him in office.
Because we have a movement. It's a movement like the world has never seen before. It's a movement that a lot of people didn't expect.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Trump Tower, New York.
Well, our CBN News political correspondent David Brody was in New York for the Trump press conference. And David, what do you think we can expect with the media and the White House over the next 4 years? What's in the offing?
Well, we've heard this word before, Pat, Armageddon. I think that's what we're going to see the next 4 years. It's going to be nasty, and it's going to be rated R. Maybe not some language, but a lot of adult content for sure, Pat. There's no doubt it's going to be problematic. And sources inside the Trump administration, or at least the incoming Trump administration, tell me that indeed there are going to be some changes in the briefing room. There are going to be some changes in how, in essence, this entitlement media, this entitlement mainstream media gets treated. They don't want this entitlement mainstream media to start driving the narrative every single day. And Donald Trump is determined to put an end to it. Now, I have to tell you, it was interesting being at that press conference in New York with Jennifer as well yesterday on Wednesday. He started with some very nice things to say about the media at first. He talked about how he appreciated how some of the media didn't run that story that CNN ran about Russia, but then all of a sudden it turned worse. So he's trying to kind of play both sides here a little bit because he also knows he needs positive media attention as well.
That reporter from CNN was so rude. He kept yelling. I mean, good grief. I mean, who does he think he is?
Well, I know Jim Acosta over at CNN, and typically he's a pretty solid reporter and has never really gotten into shouting matches at all, whether it be with presidents or some other folks. I see him all the time. But clearly he was frustrated because, let's face it, Donald Trump's been piling on CNN, and CNN's been piling on Donald Trump as well for a very long time. So that was a lot of animosity in the making there, Pat.
Well, you know, those hearings, Rex Tillerson, I thought, comported himself very well, but Marco Rubio was coming up, will you label Putin a war criminal? Well, you can't start off a relationship as Secretary of State calling somebody a war criminal. What was wrong with Rubio? That doesn't make sense.
Well, this may be a little bit, I want to use this word lightly, but revenge. I'm using the word lightly, but the reality is that, Marco Rubio has always been frustrated, not only obviously with what happened during the campaign with Donald Trump, but in addition, he's also been frustrated with Russia and Putin. He's been very outspoken about this for a very long time. He's kind of in that John McCain and Lindsey Graham camp of saying Putin is not just a bad actor, but just literally a war criminal and a really, really bad guy. And so this was a chance for him to really make that case. Now, Marco Rubio's vote is going to be very important on that committee. You know this, Pat. If Tillerson doesn't get Rubio's vote, Tillerson probably won't make it out of committee. And if that's the case, then his nomination is dead in the water.
Well, they could take it to the full Senate and get a vote up there without the committee, couldn't they? Or are they going to try that?
Well, they could, and under a Trump administration that's coming in now, you would sense that Trump would say, hey, then let's forget that. Let's make sure this guy's confirmed. I mean, I think eventually Tillerson will be confirmed, but Rubio's making it awfully difficult.
Well, it looks like John McCain is the one who leaked that nasty stuff to BuzzFeed. I mean, that was a terrible thing to do.
Well, John McCain admitting that he leaked it. Now, he's saying he gave it to Comey, who somehow, some way, some intelligence official, somehow it got to BuzzFeed from maybe a source within the intelligence community. And I think this is going to be a real issue going forward, Pat, as it relates to how Donald Trump and the intelligence community gets along. He needs the intelligence community. He has to have confidence in the intelligence community. Americans need to have confidence in the intelligence community. But let's be honest. There was a real big issue with that dossier, if you will, that two-page unsubstantiated allegations about Donald Trump being included in an official intelligence report. I mean, Donald Trump, you really get a sense that he has reason to be frustrated here, because why is the intelligence community putting in a two-page unsubstantiated rumor document attached to a classified briefing about Russia? It makes you wonder, Pat, and it's got Trump very frustrated.
Well, we're all hoping he'll get in there. We can stop this. What about Jeff Sessions? I think he did a terrific job as well.
Yeah, you can really tell Jeff Sessions has been in the Senate for a while. He knows how it goes down. He's been on the other side, obviously, in terms of the one asking questions. He's been a cool cucumber, as they say. I guess that's what they say. I don't know. Is that still a term? Who knows? But Jeff Sessions, for sure, will be confirmed. There's not even a question about that. He's got the support of Tim Scott, Senator Tim Scott, African-American from South Carolina. That'll help him on some of the racial tension pushback that the Democrats are trying to make hay with. So I think it's pretty much smooth sailing for this new attorney general coming in.
That rant by Cory Booker was so over the top. You kind of think, let me turn this television off. I can't stand it anymore. What do you? I mean, that was unprecedented, wasn't it?
It was unprecedented. First time a sitting United States senator has testified against another senator, and in this case, obviously, an attorney general nominee. But let's be honest here, Pat, that's Cory Booker looking at 2020. I mean, he's looking at running for the president, and that's a way to play to the base and say, hey, I stood up to Jeff Sessions. And so there's a lot of politics going on with that.
I don't think he helped himself with some of the others, but that's his call. I'm not running his campaign. Well, the Senate moved last night to start repealing Obamacare. Tell me what they did and what this maneuvering will amount to.
Well, there are going to be a lot of different potholes along the road here, Pat, and there's going to be some different timelines. But let me try to boil this all down in 30 seconds or so. It looks like there's probably going to be a repeal and replace strategy on President Trump's desk sometime in February. That's the plan, at least. January 27th, about a week after Donald Trump takes office, is when there is going to be the repeal portion of this that starts to, in essence, ferment. But then the question becomes, what's going to happen with the replace strategy? Now, Donald Trump, as we know at the press conference, said the replace will happen simultaneously, or at least in the same day, hour, week of the repeal. Paul Ryan is trying to make that happen. Paul Ryan says we're going to somehow figure out a way to replace this thing piecemeal. And I think that's the key. If you listen to Donald Trump, it's not a full replace. It's not a full repeal and replace. It's a full repeal, but the replace is going to be in stages. And I think that's what you're going to see at the same time. You'll see parts of this being replaced, but not the full thing all at once.
Last question. Are they treating our news team with respect? Are they doing, have you got good access up there?
We got really great access. As a matter of fact, we were up for, some behind-the-scenes meetings in Trump Tower yesterday, Pat. Why did I whisper like that? I don't know. I'm on live national television. But yes, we have, looks like we're going to have some great access. But I think that the larger issue here, Pat, is that Donald Trump, Sean Spicer, the folks in the press shop want to change the narrative. They have no desire to see the mainstream media and the Associated Press and ABC, NBC, and CBS dictating and having soliloquies from the first two rows of the White House press briefing room as to how the day's news are going to unfold. And that's why CBN, some others, going to be really included much more heavily in the day's news out of the briefing room. And behind the scenes, Pat, we've got some access. Stay tuned, Pat.
I'll
be
stay
here.
tuned. It will hang on every word, David. God bless you.
And Jennifer Wishon, of course, at the White House will have primo access. Yeah.
Congratulations.